Guys, it's Jacob from Stringbuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being a music journalism site, links are in the description down below. And we have a brand new song review for you today, and it's the latest track by Fleet Foxes, 3rd of May / Ōdaigahara or Ōdaigahara, I don't know how to particularly pronounce it, I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to refer to the original article as I usually do, so I hope you enjoy. Well, yeah, you better believe it, the infamous medieval classical church folk contemporary castlecore group is back with a brand new single, and my goodness did I go into this track pretty darn excited. I'm seeing them at Latitude this year, so I'm hoping for some good stuff going in. Luckily enough, I will be seeing these guys at Latitude Festival this year, and I can only hope for the best that this song holds up to their immensely high standards from the past. I know a lot of people are going into this track with a ton of anticipation. Shall we see what I thought of this brand new track? Well, I thought it was pretty darn great, and yet again Fleet Foxes continue to push the boundaries and extend their musical limits with audacious scores that even Dowland himself back in the 1500s would be pretty darn proud of. It's got so many dimensions to it that it's pretty darn impossible to keep up with each section in particular. Everything is just so full of life and reason, and it just leaves you feeling almost exhausted by the end of the track, but in a good way, like you've got your fulfillment. It's always very brave putting out your first single from an upcoming album, which is like over 4 minutes, say. But this track is around sort of 8 minutes, 9 minutes, so that's pretty darn brave, really, and especially when it's as experimental as this, which can be polarizing as well. I was expecting to find a very polarizing reception, in fact, in the comment section of the audio track, but I'm so happy to see how this track has been so well received by the fans as well. When it comes to the production of this track, I'm very impressed at how they managed to keep in so many elements and conflicting timbres. I mean, this could have been an absolute shambles quite easily, but they managed to bring it all in together to create something that sounds truly special in my opinion. The acoustic guitar is rustic and adds a little twang into the texture, sounding raw and organic, and although I didn't actually mention it in the article about the production, the lute in this track as well sounds marvellous, if I'm totally honest with you. The bass is wholesome and deep, driving that low end well with all sorts of crazy sequences in the musicality, which I'll get into further in this review. The harpsichord, or what I believe to be a harpsichord, I couldn't quite tell what it was meant to be. It definitely wasn't a piano, so that's obviously a brave approach, even throwing in a harpsichord into this mix. Added yet more edge into the track, sounding a little more trebly than say a piano would, meaning instantly you get an incredibly atypical driving sound in your mid-ground, something I didn't expect, and it sounded great. The vocals, as usual, are enriched by a very juicy sounding reverb that manages to keep the diction of each lyric, which is very difficult to do, while sounding massive on a huge soundscape as well. I even loved how the drums weren't too overproduced, keeping almost a tribal feel to them. It literally sounded like a track from the 1400s, or what I'd imagine a track from the 1400s to sound anyway. I'm so overwhelmingly impressed with this fantastic production cycle. Musicality wise, this track blew my head off just from that first strum alone. The first section was already enough to really take my hat off if I had one on anyway. It's so full of so many moving parts that it's difficult not to get lost in the mix, and sure, that might be off-putting to a lot of people and I can totally understand why, but for me it just added a replayability to it, which not many tracks obtain, because you want to re-listen to it as many times just to find each little individual element and really scrutinize it. But to be honest, there's not much scrutinizing you can do because it's been done pretty darn perfectly. Each melody is gorgeous and methodical, adding an eerie and haunting layer to the track, which reminds me of some vintage Fleet Foxes work around about when they first started back in 2008. The chordal progressions that are used are so off the wall, crazy and unique that it's impossible not to get dragged into the momentum of the track as it flows seamlessly from section to section. I thought the song form, or rather lack of it, also pushed this very medieval vibe into the track, since it followed an almost serialism-like pattern, something which we again haven't heard in a long time. We never really get, say, like a chorus or verses or bridges, but instead a flurrying of exciting ideas throughout the track. The final 2 minutes or so, which sounded like a lute was being played, only further boggled my mind too, since it added something I thought was never going to work in modern contemporary music. Yet it made it sound like it was like a preliminary mainstay of their approach. I will say that this track won't be for everyone, and it has got some disjointedness to it, which might turn off many people, but for me it just has enough of a backbone and undertone to really carry through all these ideas without being too forced or distracted from one another. Lyrically, as you'd expect from a Fleet Foxes track. This track is masterfully written with lyrics that read like poetry and stir emotions that you probably haven't even experienced yet. Heck, I hadn't experienced these emotions. Each line is meticulously crafted and full of connotations and personality. It's honestly stunning, if I'm honest with you. All in all, I'm having a really hard time even finding a way of faulting this track. However, as I've already said, this track won't be for everyone, and I already know a few of my friends who have listened to this track and think it's a little bit overboard. Even my girlfriend thought that. But it kind of depends on personal preference when going into a Fleet Fox track, and this is what I was kind of looking for. So I gave it a G rating of 9 out of 10, which is so close to being perfect. So if you like this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye bye.